Update. On my wedding day, my mom texted, "Don't expect anyone to show." Then I saw the group photo, all of them on a private beach in Maui. The caption read, "Finally together." I just sent one text, perfect timing. Later that afternoon, I called the attorney and set up a firewall on the rest of my financial interests. I shut off every shared access point, revoked every family member from my personal accounts, and canceled the autopay for the secondary property my sister had just moved into. She was using my name to secure the rate. Not anymore. They'd been living off me for years without even realizing it. They got used to things disappearing, trips, investments, bailouts. I had quietly kept the wheels turning while they posed on beaches and whispered about my wife not being our kind of people. Now the gears were stopping, and they were going to feel every rotation slowed to a halt. It started small, just a few mispayments. The company's shared car lease bounced first. I knew because the dealership called my personal line out of habit. Then one of the vendors flagged an overdue invoice and emailed the business account I still monitored silently. Then the office building sent a warning about late rent. I didn't say a word. I just watched. By week 2, they were scrambling. I could see it in the group chat, my sister begging for someone to cover the utilities for the lake house this month, and my dad replying with vague promises. My aunt chimed in, saying her card got declined trying to book a trip to Scottsdale. My cousin asked if the company still covered his insurance. No one was getting real answers, and they still hadn't said the one thing I was waiting to hear, not a single apology. Instead, they acted like something happened to them, like I'd vanished without cause, like I hadn't spent a decade quietly managing the financial strings they all took for granted. I was the one who set up the tax shields, the real estate trusts, the expense pipelines. They never understood how any of it worked. They didn't care to. They just used the cards, signed the forms I gave them, and assumed it was endless. Then the mortgage issue hit. My sister and her husband had bought a new property in a suburban development, big place, shiny lawn, probably 3 bathrooms. I'd co-signed quietly a year ago, back when we still talked. She never asked directly. She just cried about not getting approved, and I filled in the gap. It felt like the right thing to do at the time. Now, with the accounts locked and her income suddenly under review, the bank flagged the arrangement. The terms fell apart. They couldn't meet the new deposit window. I got the notification because legally my name was still on the contract until I had it removed. That was a fun call. The loan officer asked if I was still interested in backing the property. I told him, no, not anymore. 3 days later, she called me, my sister, after complete silence since before the wedding. No congrats. No sorry we missed it. No acknowledgement. Just, you can't do this to us. Us? I didn't even answer. Just let it ring out and block the number. That night, Natalie and I ate dinner on the couch and watched reruns while her head rested on my shoulder. She still didn't know all of it. I didn't feel like she needed to. What mattered was we were good. We were building something real. The next week, I heard from our old accountant, a guy I liked, someone who always played it straight. He said the quarterly reports were a disaster and asked if I'd really pulled all access. I said yes. He was quiet for a second, then said, "I wondered when you'd finally stop carrying them." That stuck with me, because he was right. I'd been carrying them for years, quietly, fully, without resentment, until they made it impossible not to see the truth. And now I was just letting go. 3 weeks after the wedding, the silence began to warp into something else. Not apology, not remorse, just quiet calculations behind closed doors. They were clearly trying to find a way back into control, but without facing the truth. Typical. I was working late from home, finalizing paperwork for a startup I'd quietly invested in months ago, something I'd never told my father about. It was the first time I felt genuinely excited about a new direction. My phone buzzed with an email notification. The sender's name didn't ring any bells. Subject line, request for private conversation regarding family affairs. I opened it. Inside, some slick wording about wanting to meet for coffee and discuss a potential path forward. It took a moment, but I realized the sender was one of my father's longtime business contacts, an old guy I'd seen once at a board meeting when I was 22, a professional mouthpiece. He even included a line that made me laugh out loud. I believe there's still a way to preserve legacy without sacrificing personal values. I didn't answer. 2 days later, I got another email, this time from a law firm. They sent over a PDF titled Proposal for Reintegration of Partnership and Brand Stabilization. That was their title, not apology, not we were wrong. Just stabilization, like I was a stock that dropped too fast. The document was dense. Basically, they were offering to bring me back as an independent strategic lead with a hefty salary. My shares reinstated and a public announcement about renewed collaboration. I kept scrolling, half bored, until I hit the final clause, neatly buried at the bottom, reinstatement subject to realignment of personal affiliations and conflict with brand image or long-term partner confidence. It didn't say Natalie's name, but I didn't need it to. They wanted me back, but only if I erased the one person who showed up when none of them did, the woman who stood beside me when every single blood relative disappeared. I closed the laptop without responding. The next night, Natalie and I were walking back from dinner. Just the two of us, holding a leftover box between us, laughing about some guy at the restaurant who kept loudly pitching a podcast idea no one asked to hear. We turned the corner onto our block and froze. My mother was standing outside the building, not dressed for confrontation. No suitcase, no umbrella, just standing there like she'd been waiting for hours. Her hair was done. Her makeup was carefully subtle, like she wanted to look unpolished, but not by accident. I hadn't seen her in person in almost a year. She didn't say hello, just looked at me, then at Natalie, then back at me again. "I came alone," she said. "Your father doesn't know I'm here." I didn't respond. She said she wanted to fix things. That this had gone too far. That the business was suffering and no one was talking to each other, and it was time someone acted like the adult. I said, "You didn't come to fix anything. You came to negotiate." That's when she said it. Not loudly, not in anger, just a sentence she clearly rehearsed. I think deep down you know she's not part of the future we built. It was so calm, so matter of fact, that it actually stunned me more than if she'd screamed. Natalie didn't say a word. She didn't need to. I just stepped forward, looked my mother in the eye, and said, "You made that future without me the second you walked off that plane in Maui." Then I turned, took Natalie's hand, and walked past her. We didn't stop. We didn't look back. But later that night, around 1:30 a.m., I got another email from the same firm. Subject line, urgent, intent to sue for breach of fiduciary duty. That's when I knew they weren't done trying to fight. And that's when I realized I hadn't even started. When the envelope landed on my desk, I didn't feel much. Not anger, not surprise, just a kind of tired confirmation. Thick, cream-colored paper, my name typed in bold, formal language wrapped around the thread. My father and his lawyer were filing for breach of fiduciary duty. They claimed I had sabotaged the family business, intentionally interfered with operations, caused reputational harm, and jeopardized shared assets. It was nonsense, but legally shaped nonsense. I handed it off to my attorney, Lena. She didn't flinch. She was the kind of lawyer who used silence better than most people used words. After scanning the first page, she looked up and said, "They're trying to box you in before they collapse." I nodded. "So, let's let them collapse." She started building a counter immediately.